Yeah, I think Skull Crusher Rashi Brown really is a bit of a fucking mark. I mean, he's that dude that's on PWR reporting and talking about TNA's lockdown and talking about TNA Genesis. Rashi Brown, Skull Crusher Rashi Brown, is reviewing TNA Genesis on PWR show.com. I mean, if you know, who puts a fucking wrestler on a radio show? You know, that's Mark shit, like talking, you know, about these matches when you're on the inside of the biz. That's, nobody does that shit, you know. That's one step too far for you, Skull Crusher Rashi Brown. I think yeah, you just don't do that kind of shit. You wouldn't see Bam Bam, you know, back in '93 when Raw was in New York. You wouldn't see Bam Bam on the fucking Bubba the Love Sponge, you know, spoofing his shit up. And that's where Skull Crusher Rashi Brown is. So getting back to it, Roddy, you know, I think you would be a good man to annihilate the Skull Crusher, and no ums and ahs for you, Rashi Brown.
This is it, and I have to say that Skull Crusher Rashi, he has impressed me, but you've shocked me. I never heard about this PWR TNA Genesis review, and yeah, I suppose he's got to keep friends in the business. He probably knows some of those TNA guys, of course, from the Ring of Honor days at some stage maybe, but yeah, that's definitely news to me, and without a doubt you don't want to be putting over those other companies. Just do your best to promote your own, and I mean, Ring of Honor have a lot to do on that front yet. No real international presence, and I mean, we probably are the exception to the rule. There's a lot of fans in the UK and Ireland, Northern Ireland, Europe, and indeed as far as Asia, Australia, who watch Ring of Honor, but they don't particularly have an easy time doing it. You've got to find it on a stream, you've got to find it somewhere, and indeed it's not always easy. Without a doubt we miss some weeks sometime, and there's nothing really that we can do about that until Ring of Honor is on television here, and I hope somebody will show some interest in it one day. Now, we had a recap of the American Wolves angle, which of course led to this one-on-one with Davey Richards and indeed Eddie Edwards, his tag team partner. That's going to be for the TV title later. And then Daivari coming out. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we saw Daivari, Sean Daivari, as he was now wanting to be known as, coming out and cutting a promo with Jim Cornette. Now, in this promo, he said that he wanted to be treated as an American, no more of this foreign sympathizer gimmick. He just wanted to be known as what he really was, and indeed saying he's American. But then we heard this story on the dirt sheets that perhaps Daivari had eyes on going back to the WWE, and now we see him again this past Monday night on HDNet. What's he up to?
Yeah, Daivari has definitely got his hands in a couple of pockets of the wrestling territories, and never, you know, I think that gimmick kind of suited him because he was a bit cagey. You wouldn't really know what his business dealings would be all about. So I wouldn't be too surprised if there was a contract signed and we see Mark II of Mr. Daivari over on WWE Smackdown.
Indeed, WrestleDope.com. Check us out there. YouTube.com/TheWrestleDope. Now remember to come back on pay-per-view nights, because we're going to try and let you know what happens on those pay-per-views without having to pay for those, because it's quite expensive. I heard a lot of people were really annoyed about Extreme Rules when they had to pay, I think, upwards of $45 for that rubbish. And indeed, never want to see any pretty much crap like that again. A lot of people are saying they're done with WWE. I do have some news for those guys. I mean, WWE don't care. They have changed demographic now, and that's pretty much it. That means go away. We don't actually want you to watch. But then we're talking about Ring of Honor. But that WWE shoot, it does tend to come out now and again. So let's see what else happened on HDNet. Davey Richards versus Eddie Edwards. The decider on this has been a very long time coming. We've had weeks of this World TV title tournament, and it's not to say I was bored at all. A lot of competitive matches, and it kind of introduced me to these guys. I mean, I hadn't really seen Ring of Honor much, and now I know exactly who these guys are.
Yeah, and a funny outcome on this TV tournament. for the TV title. I think a couple of people I really would have expected, like Kevin Steen, Mr. Wrestling, not shining through on this TV title run. Maybe they might have him in mind for a future world title run, as Mr. Wrestling is one of the greatest wrestlers out there at the moment, from Ring of Honor, not WWE or TNA, Ring of Honor. So yeah, a good run on this title match, and no better man than Eddie Edwards to really showcase what he's worth.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago when we started doing this and we started talking about Ring of Honor, we were almost sort of introducing ourselves to some of these guys. It's all new now. It's not that 2006 Samoa Joe, AJ Styles type deal. A lot of new faces in there, like your Tyler Blacks. We'd seen Austin Idol or Aries on TNA before, but yes, I mean, I didn't encounter the American Wolves before, and I was immediately impressed by those guys. To see them now in a match one-on-one, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, and two great talents to have in a tag team, which I never really thought either of them would do. But yeah, Chris Hero is definitely an all-out entertainer across the board, and a great worker, great on the mic, and definitely should even be in the main kind of run for the title with your Tyler Blacks. A little bit wasted in the tag gimmick, but still makes that kind of good beer money odd couple tag team, and at least they don't have a team of kind of gimmick where they actually have a name. So like beer money, I think it gets over, and it's all good in the hood.
The American Wolves, as you say, have coordinated ring wear, one with the red, one with the blue, and indeed those guys work like a real tag team, and you wouldn't expect anything less from Ring of Honor. Now, it wasn't so much an implosion of these guys, it wasn't your crime time deal. These guys were sort of respectful to each other at the end of the match, when indeed we saw Eddie Edwards going over, and indeed he's the new Ring of Honor World TV title holder. Lots of spots in here where Richards bounced off the ropes coming backwards, then a drop kick into the back of Richards. This was the sort of thing that I was noticing and sort of impressed me. Also, it makes you ask once again what TNA and WWE are doing with their match booking. It just seems ridiculous these guys can impress on such a low budget. Well done to them, but where are those millions of dollars going?
Yeah, it's quite sad to see, because it's a quality wrestling match at the end of the day, and it's rare, very rare, I think, that you see it, especially on WWE TV of any sort. But yeah, I think Ring of Honor they're kicking ass across the board, hands down, without a doubt. It's quality wrestling.
We can't speak higher about Ring of Honor because we've just put it over like nobody's business. But I have to say, these guys need that support now. Everybody rallied around TNA when they saw it as an alternative. They then sort of championed it and sort of said it was a real alternative to WWE, when in fact, let's face it, a lot of times it wasn't. We had Shark Boy as that Stone Cold gimmick. We had Super Eric. We sat through months of Super Eric. So you've got to wonder what people were thinking back then when they saw it as a real alternative. If they want a real alternative, the challenge is now, go find Ring of Honor.